happen in life, right? So we are 9 minutes late. We had some confusion. Nobody's fault. Mistakes happen sometimes. So I apologize that we're late. Jeff, I saw your comment. Hopefully you waited around. Thank you, and sorry about it. Hey, you know what? I think it's kind of interesting because today we're going to talk about trust. And I'm going to bring Bryn Tillman on with us here in a second. And, a couple things. One is Bryn is one of the original voices that I started to follow when it came to LinkedIn and using LinkedIn differently. And that's been at least 10 years ago, I think more. And the other thing before we jump into this about earning trust, I have found throughout my career that, mistakes happen. Things don't happen the way they always intend. And it's a really, really big opportunity to earn trust with the way you handle mistakes and when things don't go right, instead of just pretending they didn't exist or blame a client or anything like that. So lots of illustrations and lots of opportunities today. But hey, I want to move in quickly with Bryn. So a lot of you probably know Bryn. She is, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many other people, she is a leading authority on using LinkedIn connections and turning them into real business conversations. Like I said, I started listening to Bryn at least 10 years ago, and I'm very grateful to have her on the show with us today. Bryn is the CEO of Social Sales Link. She's also the author of the book, The LinkedIn Sales Playbook. She really specializes in helping CEOs and sales leaders and entrepreneurs, solopreneurs transform the way they sell by building trust, providing real value, and positioning themselves so that people want to speak with them. And if you know anything about my content or how I've tried to build my career, build my businesses, it's exactly the same way that I've done it, which is why I love having Bryn be a part of the show and share. So Bryn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate your kindness because we're here and a little
Here.
late, but hopefully we'll make it worth the wait.
It is worth the wait. It is worth the wait. And I learned something really important from you just now. You said that once you're a grandparent, some of these things just don't matter anymore in the big picture. And I appreciate that, knowing that I'm not sure if we're able to announce this or not yet. So shh, don't tell anybody. But I'm gonna be a first time grandfather.
Yay! I have to tell you, I have two grandbaby girls, 4 and 2, and there's just nothing like it. And it definitely puts life into priority, right? And so, but it's pure joy. So I'm excited for
I
you.
bet. Well, and I joke around everybody. I know I'm on a live show and a podcast, and this will go out. I have been given permission finally to be able to share that, but it's been, we've known for over a month and we haven't, we were asked not to share anything. And man, that is the most painful thing. That is so hard to not be able to tell people like, I'm going to be a grandfather. It's been
So
tough.
can I share? This is so off topic, but on this topic,
Okay.
when I found out that my daughter was pregnant for the first time, it was the middle of COVID, and we would walk our neighborhood every single day. My family go out, we'd walk, just to get
Yeah.
out. And she's like, "You're the first of the parents we're telling you can't tell anyone." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how do I not tell anyone?" I'm like, "You know me, baby girl. I'm going
Yeah.
to explode." She goes, "Well, just tell a stranger." So,
Yes.
side note, my 15-year-old son, maybe 16, my 16-year-old son was dating this lovely girl. And my daughter, who was in her early 30s, was pregnant with my first baby girl, with my first granddaughter. So I'm walking in our neighborhood and I go, "I'm going to be a grandma." And the woman turns around and she goes, "Isn't Josh a little young to be a dad?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be a bigger problem than just
Yeah.
telling people."
Yeah. Well, with four daughters, when I told people I was going to be a grandfather, they're like, hey, and then they don't know because it's like, well, is it one of my single daughters or is it my married daughter or is it a
Either
good
way,
thing?
a baby
Bad
is a
thing?
wonderful gift.
Yeah.
No,
So,
but
uh,
fortunately, it was my married daughter that just worked.
yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, Bryn, hey, I thank
Fun.
you so much for joining me, and I always love our conversations, whether a camera's on us or not. I always learn so much from you, and I've learned a lot from the distance. I mean, your voice in my life has really been transformational for me. With when I first started looking at LinkedIn, I was, I was the CEO that looked at it for resumes. I thought, I'm not looking for a job. Why do I need it? And you and a few other people were the voices I started listening to, going, wait a minute, there's something here. And like so many other people, I was slow to adopt because I had my walls up. I was scared. I didn't want to put myself out there. Like, what if I say something stupid? What if I get canceled? What if no one cares? What if the things I say people disagree with and they argue with me? Or what if I, all those what ifs. And so it took me a while, but I really appreciate your authority in the space and your voice. It's really meant a lot to me. So
Oh
thank you.
my gosh. What a
Yeah.
wonderful way to start my day.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, Bryn, so I want to jump into this. So for everybody, we're gonna talk about trust
Yeah.
and why it's important and how are some of the ways that we do it. And then we're going to talk about some of the tools to building trust, which I know, Bryn, you've really focused on some AI tools and you've got new stuff coming out that I'll let you share. And then we're going to talk about really how do you turn connections into conversations. So that's where we're going, everybody. And Bryn, I'm just going to kind of shut up and get out of your way. Tell everybody a little bit about you and your background, and then let's jump into trust.
So my background is simply this. I was really good at sales, and I took the sales training track instead of the sales management track. And then over time, I ended up launching a sales training company where I was okay at it. I was a good trainer, and there were so many people that were so much better than I was.
Yeah.
However, I was really, really, really good at the top of the funnel.
Mm,
That is where I just loved the top of the funnel. And so when I found LinkedIn, I was like, this is the magic sauce for the top of the funnel.
yeah.
And so, as time went, I ended up launching a company simply on LinkedIn, and now it's LinkedIn and AI. How do we use prompt writing authentically in our voice? So we're building trust, we're starting trust-based conversations. And it kind of all culminated into this. It's not only top of the funnel, but it's definitely prospecting, the prospecting side of sales.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I've always been better at the top of the funnel as well, but it took me longer to see the value of LinkedIn for top of the funnel. I think I had fear walls up and I didn't see it nearly as quick as you did.
Well, it solved a big problem for me because I loved prospecting. I loved networking. I loved being in front of the client. I loved
Mhm.
getting introductions from clients. But the biggest challenge I faced at the top of the funnel prior to LinkedIn was, Brandon, I'm so glad we've been able to help you do X, Y, and Z for your business. Who else do you know that could use my services the same way you have? And then you go, I don't know, but if someone should ask, I definitely refer you. And
Yeah.
so I knew the importance of getting those client referrals and those networking referrals. But I lost control of the sale at that point because I had
Mm,
to wait. Right. And maybe I could say some triggers like, who do you golf with? I don't know, all those things. Right.
yeah.
But now with LinkedIn, what happened is I got to control the conversation. Brandon,
Mm,
I noticed you're connected to quite a few people on LinkedIn that I'd love to get in front of. Can I quickly run these names by you and get your thoughts? And then from there, maybe there's 25 names that come up. Maybe there are 3 or 4 you're willing to introduce me to, or 10 or 12 that I have permission to drop your name.
right. Now, Bryn, I have a question for you, and I'm thinking of a lot of different kind of levels of people that look at LinkedIn. Does that strategy, this is a little bit of a loaded question too, because I don't know how to ask it the right way. Does that strategy work for everybody, or does it work for you, because you create so much content, you're so, you're so active on LinkedIn, that strategy actually doesn't work for the common person?
That is a fantastic question. And I would say this is the strategy that would work for anyone that is in a relationship-based sale.
That is what? What'd you say?
A relationship-based sale. So if I'm
Right.
selling something on Amazon, that's not going to, if
Right.
I'm selling, right. But if you have to have a conversation with your client in order to make a sale, this is the best way to do it. Having a great profile absolutely helps. Having content absolutely helps. But this is about getting introductions from your clients into the targeted market. Now, I've had clients say to me, but my clients really aren't active on LinkedIn. Okay. Are they connected on LinkedIn? Yeah, they connect with people. They've got a few thousand connections, but they don't do anything on LinkedIn. That's fine. They can make those introductions in email.
Right.
Right? There are lots of ways that we can leverage that relationship outside of LinkedIn. LinkedIn might only be the research tool.
Right.
So that tactic, that strategy for prospecting works for anyone who's relationship driven.
Yeah. I love
So
that. And what I really like about that too is, one of the things that I like to say is, nothing has changed. We just do it differently. And what you said there is, yeah, we've always asked for referrals and who do you know and who should I know. It's just now we're doing it through, it sounds like you can go to LinkedIn and click on someone you know. Now, let me ask this question before I explain all that too. Are you asking that to people who you know really well, or are you asking that to people that you're connected with on LinkedIn but maybe not know as well?
so okay, the highest best place is from a client. The
Got it.
next level down is from a trusted networking partner, maybe that you share clients. So I will actually go to my clients and ask for introductions to their other trusted advisors. Who are you using for marketing? Who are you using for sales
Mhm.
training? And I want to build relationships there and get warm introductions. So the client referrals, hands down, my favorite. Next down is a trusted networking partner. Next down, like, I'm part of a couple of networking groups where we haven't necessarily shared a client, but there's trust between us and we know that we'll do a good job if we refer each other. And then the last bottom is like just connections.
Mm.
So I want to start highest and warmest,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's where I like to start. And I mostly play in the top two tiers. I mostly play in my clients and my trusted advisors who serve a similar client but is not a competitor.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for clarifying that. I could hear the questions coming out. Now, who do I send this to? Who do I do this with?
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
I will share, if you have the free LinkedIn, LinkedIn gives you random profiles of people. So if I go into Brandon and I want to see all the sales and marketing VP and directors that he knows, because that's my typical prospect, and it may say 127, but he may know 2,000. LinkedIn is this, they actually pull it from a random thousand. It's a little strange on how they come up with it. Now, that's not a bad number, but I'm missing a lot of opportunities
Mhm.
because there might be much better people that Brandon knows, but they're not coming up in this list. So here's the hack. Ready? And only do this in the free LinkedIn, because what I'm going to do is you're sending this to someone. So even if you have Sales Navigator, this exercise needs to be done in the free LinkedIn. So you go to the search bar and you hit enter, and it's going to take you to an all filters. You're going to go to all filters, first degree connection, go to the geographic location that meets your ICP, the industry, go down to title and put in titles using Boolean search logic, CEO or CFO or whoever that might be, and hit enter. And you're going to now get, or submit, or I can't remember what the button is. They keep changing the word of it. Apply. I think it's apply now. And you're going to get a list now of all of your first degree connections, which is great to know. But if I take that link now and I send it to Brandon, and Brandon opens that link, he is now going to see all of his first degree connections that meet my criteria. And I send it to Carson, and Carson clicks through that, and he's going to see all of his first degree connections that meet my criteria. So this now becomes an incredibly powerful link. So once you've built that out one time, you can send this to your networking partners and literally say, here's a list of people that you know that I'd love to get in front of. Can we talk through them? And they, and if you're on Zoom, have them share their screen. And now you see 100% of the people that they know that meet your ICP.
Wow. We started late, but already in the first 15 minutes, you shared two really, really big gold nuggets for everybody. And hey, if you're listening, look, I always say, look for the gold nuggets. What is gold? You get a tiny little piece like this, you stick it in your hand, and it's worth a whole lot of money. Bryn just dropped gold. And if you didn't know that before and you haven't done it before, pick it up, stick it in your pocket, and make it work for you. Bryn, thanks for that.
One other quick tip on that is bookmark that link so you can use it over and over again, and go to Bitly and shorten that link. So when you send it to someone, it's not 700 characters. You can shorten it.
Excellent. Excellent. So Bryn, we were all great referral based. Why is trust the new door opener for LinkedIn, and what are the ways that we can earn trust in this digital world?
Oh, I love that question. So the reason trust is so important is because there's so much mistrust. We are being hit every day with connect and pitch. We are being hit every day with self-absorbed messaging. We are hit every day with automation that's pretending to not be automation, which, by the way, is so bad. So if you get a message that says, just checked out your profile and I'm really impressed with your accomplishments.
Yeah.
I will immediately go to my who's viewed my profile and see if that's true.
Right.
If it's not, I call them out on the table. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. I don't see that you viewed my profile. What about it captured you?
Yeah.
What about my profile were you impressed by? Now, if it's automation, you're going to get, thanks so much for your response. I'm looking forward to telling you how I can sell you. It's icky. While I rarely block and report, I have started to when it's clearly clear.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, and then we lost Bryn. This is a day. Like, this stuff happens. I'm totally caught off guard. I don't know what happened with Bryn, but we'll wait. I'm sure she'll log back in here soon, and I'll keep going. One of the things, and Bryn did it much nicer than I normally do, but I think the challenge with automation is that we as a recipients, in a way, feel dehumanized when somebody else wants to use automation to try and capture our attention. Now, maybe I'm taking it a little bit farther, but maybe a little bit farther, a little bit more personal than it needs to be, if you will. But think about it this way. If somebody's using automation, they don't really respect our time, especially with so often when they're using automation in direct messages on LinkedIn, they're spraying and praying. Right? Y'all know that term. They spray and pray, which means they're not really being thoughtful about our time. they're hoping that it's going to land on a few people that have a need and they'll respond, which is fine. But think about the 99.7% of people who didn't ask for it. They're not the right ideal customer profile, or they're not interested. They already have a solution. They still have to take their time to go deal with the message, whether that's say no thank you, which would be very, very generous of them, do something like what Bryn did, or simply delete it. It's not being very respectful. And here's a short story. Somebody had put me in automation, and after like 3 or 4 of the messages, I simply, hi, Bryn, I'm in the middle of a story. Well, welcome back. And now she's frozen. Hatham, you want to take her off there and then see what we can do there. But let me finish this story for everybody. I got 3 or 4 messages from the person. I could tell it was automation. And finally, I sent a message saying something like, hey, can you take me off your automation? I would really appreciate it. And the guy responded and started selling me again, went into his pitch. And I said, hey, I'm not interested. And, I'm really not interested. Go ahead and take me off or whatever. And he kept going. And finally I said, dude, stop. And this is before I knew about reporting or anything else. But eventually he stopped. And then like 4 years later, he's in a different company in a totally different role, but he sends me a message that was a nice personal message, actually. But I had the whole history of everything before. So I was already tainted. I was already not willing, not interested to work with this person based on the way he treated me and got confrontational with me because I wasn't interested in his product or service. Now, I would bet money, he was younger. I'd bet money that he was coached and trained and told to do that. But nevertheless, by the time he and I got he started sending me messages later, the relationship was ruined, and I wasn't even interested in anything he was talking about. Bryn, welcome back.
So my Wi-Fi went out, and I am now on my phone's Wi-Fi on my computer on my hotspot. So let's.
Oh no! Well, let's hope it works. Well, let's jump to this. I know I want to talk about smarter tools, and I want you to be able to share. I know you're really proud of the work that you've been doing with AI prompts and working with people to use AI without losing their humanity. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk about that. How do people position themselves as being trusted and being authority, and how are you using AI to do some of this?
So love this question, and I am again incredibly sorry. This is like a day from, I don't know, circus.
Hey, it happens.
So I appreciate it. So let's talk about. I know we were talking about automation and how that creates mistrust. So
Yes.
let's talk about what creates trust. So the first thing we have to do is detach from what the prospect is worth to us and attach to what we are worth to the prospect. We have to show up in a way that's with the intent to bring exceptional value to our ICP, earning the right to get the conversation. So when we approach LinkedIn or prospecting from, I got to make this sale, chances are you're not going to make that sale. When you approach it with, I'd love to learn how I can bring value, but I'm going to earn the right to learn how I can bring specific value by starting with bringing value. Now, value, couple things, is in the eye of the consumer. Mm-hmm. What we think is valuable may not be. Talking about our product solution is typically not valuable at the very top of the funnel. One of the things we have to do, and I learned this from an amazing speaker, author, coach, David Newman, probably 15 years ago. And I still give him credit because it's his, even though I use it every single day, is we have to identify what is going on in the world of our prospect, the stage before they know they need us. Mm-hmm. right? That's when we have to start talking to them. And most sales and marketers want to talk about what they, what's happening when they need us, but often it's too late.
Yeah.
So building trust happens before they're ready to buy, which means it's before it's time to sell. And it's really, really important to embrace that concept. Okay. That's number one. Number two, we need to slow down our outreach to speed up our outcome. If we look at our outreach as cold calling, how many numbers, what volume can I do? All you're doing is collecting business cards and sticking a rubber band around them and putting them in the corner of your desk. You're not productive. I'd rather have you way less conversations, no, that's not true. I want way more conversations. I'd rather way less connections and way more conversations that are targeted. So that's kind of the mentality. So let's move into AI and how AI can erode trust or build trust based on how you use it. So we have just self-promotion. PromptWritingMadeEasy.com is a new book with my co-authors, Stan Robinson Jr. and Bob Woods. We've put together a pretty comprehensive but easy to use guide on how to write prompts so that the content is in your voice, not the voice of AI. So I will quickly go through. In the book, we use the crispy the crispy framework. Okay. C is context. I mean, the first CRISP, the first 5 is basic prompt writing that any framework would work. It's the why at the end that's important, and a little bit of the role. So I'm going to say, I want a blog post. I want a blog post on topic, on LinkedIn for prospecting. Role. Now I could say act as. Maybe I want to post on algorithms. So I'm going to say act as Richard Vanderbloom, who is the world's foremost expert on the LinkedIn algorithm. But I don't want to write it in Richard's voice. I just want Richard's talent.
Right.
So I'll say act as Richard Vanderbloom. I've hired you to interview me and ghost write this content based on your expertise and my answers. Okay, so the role becomes the interviewer. I'm not copycatting him, right? Okay, so now it's context, role. Inspiration is where you just rant all the way you want people to feel, the takeaways, the content, everything in that realm. Inspiration, just go. Then scope, how long do I want it? Do I want a 3 email drip? Do I want a 2,000 word ultimate guide? How long, it's the parameters of what we're looking to achieve. Prohibitions, really important. All the things you don't want AI to do. So there's a few that I don't use the word delve, foster, don't use em dashes, don't start any paragraph with a prepositional phrase. And this is my favorite one. Don't write anything that would be flagged by an AI detector. Okay. Now this is the magic. Ask me all the questions you need to complete this task in my perspective, one at a time. That magic line will change it from writing the AI to being that interviewer and ghost writing from your perspective on that topic.
Wow. That is huge for most people, I think, if you're listening to this, I know there's so much draw to AI because we've had years and years of telling us we need to create content, we need to publish, we need to write personal emails. But for most people, they've gone to AI and they said, write this for me. And they go all the way, they get everything against what you just laid out for them.
Well, we're trying to flip the script.
Yeah.
PromptWritingMadeEasy.com on Amazon now. We did hit bestseller in social media for business.
Good for you. Woohoo. I like it. So can you quickly, for anybody, go through again, just quickly go through the crispy. We have the content,
Context.
context,
Role, that's your interviewer.
right? Inspiration.
Inspiration is your rant, all the things you want, and just rant. AI is smart enough to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Just rant. The other thing is, if you say something that doesn't make sense, we've asked it to ask us all the questions. So sometimes it'll come back and say, can I clarify? Sure.
Yeah.
They don't guess because we've asked it to interview us. Scope, like what is this going to look like from parameters? That's the boring stuff, but like the scope, prohibitions, all the things we don't want it to do. And then you ask me all the questions you need to complete this task in my perspective, one at a time.
Yeah, perfect. Bryn, I'm going to go. John Piper's on here with a question that I'm going to ask him and bring it up on screen. Is there a place for any automation on LinkedIn, or do you recommend all communication DMs be organic? That's a great question, Don.
100% organic. There's no faster way to lose trust than to fake it. In fact, one of my biggest frustrating sales tips is fake it till you make it. No, show up and be honest and transparent and say, oh, great question. I'm going to go find that answer for you. Don't fake it. Don't fake it with DMs. I cannot tell you how much damage you can do using automation on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. Now, Bryn, let me ask this question, and I'll confess, I've used this before for like events, like webinars, and I'll use automation to invite to webinars. But generally, we'll say in there, "Hey, I'm sending this out through automation to let you know about a webinar." Da 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 da. What are your thoughts on that?
So the fact that you're transparent, I think, is great. The same thing with AI agents. If you let people know that it's an AI agent, I think it's great.
Yeah.
But one of the things, so it also does break LinkedIn's user agreement. So you have to be careful that you're not going to get shut down. Like there's a lot around that. And I will say, Brandon, you know what you're doing better than most people. And it's probably okay. You're probably not going to shoot yourself in the foot. Most people do.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't go out to thousands of people or anything like that. It's more of just, and honestly, I haven't used it for several months, and every time I use it, I feel bad because I know it breaks the T's and C's, and then there's part of me that's like, everybody's breaking the T's and C's. Like, why can't I just help myself a little bit? But in the name of humanity, which is important to me, I do tend to say, like, hey, this is going somewhere in there. It's like, hey, this is going out through automation, but wanted to invite you to a webinar. But I never done like tried to fake a personal message as an automated message.
Yeah. I do use a tool called getmagical.com, which is magical. That's why it's called that. Yeah. And it stores my templates, my, the messaging that I use all the time, but it's still, so it saves me a lot of time, but it's still manual. It doesn't go without me hitting send. Yeah. So it's a Chrome extension if you go to getmagical.com. And like, I have my welcome message. That's almost the same message every single time I connect with someone that doesn't have a note.
Yeah. But it's, yeah. And it's because it's a template. It just makes you 90%, 95% faster. Right.
Yeah. So I do use getmagical.com every day. I mean, I have like 7 tools I use every single day, and Get Magical is definitely one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, we just kind of built something similar inside of our own fist bump tool. So whether it's me using it or using it for some of our clients, we've got a template similar to that, or a tool similar to that. It goes like, here's what you always say, and then but it takes a human to tweak it before it actually gets posted, and so there's always a human involved.
So that's the most important piece around this, right? Because when you leave it to automation, you just don't know what. I mean, you could send it to your cousin or your best friend with like, okay, so here's a perfect example of an automation that went wrong for me. I interviewed this brilliant guy for my podcast. Adorable, fabulous, we bonded. About a week and a half later, I get a message that says, "Hey, Bren, we've been connected on LinkedIn for a while, but we haven't had a chance to talk."
No.
And I replied, "Are you using automation?" And then it said, "Great, I'm really excited to talk with you. Here's a link to my calendar."
Yeah.
And all his credibility went out the window for me. All of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't really even promote his podcast as much as I do everybody else's.
Yeah.
Because it was awful. And I don't want my network to now experience that.
Right.
So that's where it can really go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that more and more the human spam filter, people are just more sensitive to it. And I think it's when you lost your internet connection, I was telling a story that the end result of it was when somebody wants to mass produce messages, what they're not thinking about is it still takes me my personal time to actually go and read what you sent me, figure out that it's garbage or it's automation, and delete it. So you are not respectful of my time at all. And you're doing this times thousands of people. And what they're not thinking about is, yeah, you may get one or two people out of thousands and thousands that want to talk to you, but you've also soured any potential relationship with thousands of people who are annoyed.
I love that so much. That takes me to Gap Selling. Keenan, I don't know if you know Keenan from Gap Selling, but he has a phrase, it's not a phrase, a lesson called mastering the ask offer ratio. So what you're saying, right? So if I send you a message, I am asking you to consume your time, which is the one resource we can never get back, to consume your time to read my offer, my context, my email. Even if it's 35 seconds. At the end of that consumption, we have one of three reactions. One, that was a bait and switch. And that's what they mostly are, right? It was a pitch. It was a connect and pitch. 2, neutral. Doesn't hurt your reputation, but it doesn't convert to trust-based conversations. Or 3, compelling. Is this meaningful enough to me to be compelled to start a conversation with you, or to continue to join the conversation with you?
Yeah.
And so we want to be a compelling, and that's where we go back to, have we brought enough value to earn the right to get that next step?
Yeah, that's great. Well, Bren, I'll be honest with you. I've kind of lost track of time because we started late. We lost you for a little bit.
Sorry.
I don't know. No, you're fine.
Maybe we'll do it again when I have better.
We'll do it again for sure. For sure. And I know my team, we just started getting the information from your team about promoting when I was a guest on your show. So that
was so good.
We're gonna confuse people. Thanks, Jeff. Jeff's awesome, by the way. I love having Jeff around.
Wait, so this is okay. Can I read it?
Yes.
Great lessons here about using AI with extraordinary intent. Intent. I love that word. Last thing you want is to appear to be using AI and burn up any potential trust.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great, Jeff. What a thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah. Well, Bren, let's wrap up with this. What's kind of your final advice? I think, the goal today was talking about trust, but it was also talking about earning those conversations. So what's kind of your last advice for everybody with using these activities in LinkedIn to build pipeline and create reputation and conversations?
So I think I would say you need to treat the person on the other side of the message the same way you would if they were on the other side of the table.
Mhm.
They are human beings, they're not leads. I wouldn't even look at them as opportunities, but these are people as if you were in a networking room, a conference, right? Treat them in that regard where you're starting conversations, you're exploring, you try to bring them value even in that conversation. And that's how you begin to earn the right and the reputation of being a resource, not just a salesperson.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. Well, Bryn, I want to give you a chance to show that book again and tell everybody about where they can find it and where they can find you, obviously on LinkedIn. But go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about connecting with you.
Well, thank you. So promptwritingmadeeasy.com goes to Amazon. Also, if I could, it's September 17th. My book with Jeb Blunt comes out called The LinkedIn Edge, and that is pre-sale on Amazon as well. So that's really cool. And I am on LinkedIn, but if you are looking, so once a month, we have free coaching, open office hours for an hour, the 1 p.m. Eastern on the third Thursday of every month. I think May 15th is the next one, but it's every month. If you go to socialsaleslink.com/events, you can ask all your questions. We can write you your own prompts and we can have a whole lot of fun.
Absolutely. And everybody, as we're wrapping up, just remember, you can watch this later. It stays on LinkedIn and YouTube and everywhere else. Or you can, if you're listening to the podcast, you can replay it. Bryn dropped some really, really big gold nuggets right towards the beginning about the referrals and messages and how we communicate with people. My recommendation is always, if you can find a little bit of a gold nugget, put it in your pocket, meaning start to implement it right away and see how those little differences start to add traction and positivity to what you're doing, creating more conversations. Then come back to Bryn and get more gold and go implement it again. It's just a little bit of baby steps in that positive direction is what turns a frustrating career into a very joyful, successful career. So, Bryn,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much. Again, I appreciate your patience with me and my tech today.
It's all good. We'll do it again here soon. And Brent, thank you so much, not just for today, but being such a inspiration and somebody that I've learned a lot from. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you. I appreciate you, and I'm grateful to have you as part of my close network.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody, make it a great day. We'll see you next week on Revenue Through Reputation. Thank